Hey guys, and welcome to today's video. So in this one, I'm going to be covering off perhaps one of my favourite purchases that I've made when it comes to 3D printing, obviously apart from the 3D printer itself, and that is the Elegoo wash and cure machine. And I'm going to go over a couple of reasons why I really love this thing so much and why it's probably a worthwhile investment to get either something like this or this particular one itself. So let's get on with the video. So in a nutshell, this basically will wash your models once they come off the printer, and it will also cure them as well, so you don't have to mess around trying to find sunlight or kind of make your own DIY solution. And it seemed to me like a bit of a gimmick because you already had everything. So beforehand I would take my prints off the printer, I would put them into like an IPA bath, and then I would put them into a cleaner IPA bath, and then I'd use like hot water to get the supports off. And it just became a bit of a mess, to the point where I didn't really want to do any 3D printing. Not because of the printing itself or necessarily getting them off the supports, but because it was just such a mess. I'd have to get a mat down, I'd have to get all of the IPA out, I'd have to get my gloves on, and I was going through gloves like no one's business, I was going through IPA like no one's business, and it was just such a tedious and annoying task doing that cleanup process. So I saw a couple of things about this and this type of machine, and I thought I'm gonna take the plunge. So there's a number of reasons why I love this. This retails for, I think it's about £100 I picked this up for, and again it takes up space, so that's something to consider. It's about the same size as my Elegoo Mars Pro, so if you have a smaller place to have it, then that might be an issue, but then if you're trying to clean it up, you probably need a lot of space afterwards anyway. So this, although it takes up more space permanently, when you're temporarily cleaning stuff, it takes up less space in my opinion. But yeah, I don't know if that made any sense. So let's talk about the things I love about this first, and then we'll get on to some of the things that are just a bit tedious about it. The first thing is, it's nice, it's compact, and it makes things so much easier. So how it works is, you take your models off of the printer. You've then got this nifty little hook that will basically hold up your print plate. So you don't even need to take your models off of the printer. And what will happen is, you will literally we'll just move this. This is the container of the IPA that comes with it. So it clips on like so, with your build plate attached. So literally everything just drops into there. You press a couple of buttons on the front, set how long you want it to go for, and then it sounds like an alien spacecraft taking off. It does this whirry, weird noise, which is really cool. And the great thing is, you can fill this up with IPA. So this comes with it. It's like a Tupperware container. You fill it up, and it apparently lasts between 50 to 100 washes, which I can believe. Mine is pretty damned filthy at the moment, but all of my models are still coming off perfectly clean with this, even though it is filled with kind of waste resin. If you don't want to use that, if you've got a larger model, for example, if you want to take it off and get some supports off beforehand, you can use this little basket that comes with it. So obviously that drops on there, that then submerges it into this bit. You put your clip and your kind of hood back on top of it, and then it'll do its little spinny thing. And this one's particularly good because if you've got anything like your scraper, if you've got anything like your strainers and everything else, you can dip them in here and do the cleaning, so we don't have to worry about the cleaning of your other resin soaked tools, which is a big win. So before I was using this, I would have that resin bath, and then you kind of put it into a cleaner resin bath, and I have a toothbrush. You'd be there with your gloves on, mask on, you'd be cleaning it all up. And there was a couple of issues with that. A, it's tedious and it took a long time. There was spillages, I'd have to have a really big mat out. You'd always have that risk of kind of getting splashback of IPA back on you. The room would stink so much afterwards because I guess you're scrubbing for so long, and it's basically you have an open tub of IPA for much longer than something like this. But also as well, you get those issues with detail, so I can never get it quite as clean as I would like. But you're rubbing against resin that's uncured in some places as well, so it starts to damage and wear down some of those details, and it was a really frustrating task. With this, I literally put it in, I set it to clean, depending what type of model it is, for about 5 or 6 minutes. Literally come back, take it off. I use my lids to kind of carry it over to somewhere which is kind of nice and secure, and then I put it onto a wet paper towel, let it drain off, and just close it up, and I'm done. Once that is done, you get to the curing bit. So basically, this kind of turntable, and that will pop on like so. I lined it up pretty much first time. It never normally happens. It always takes a lot of time to kind of line it up, which I'll come on to soon. Set how long you want to cure it for, and it does a little spinny thing. It has a security feature that if this isn't on, it won't do it. So bear that in mind. If you pick one of these up and you wonder what the hell's going on and why it's not spinning up, you've got to have the lid on. So if you want to bear in mind. And the great thing about that is I live in the UK, And we have sunlight like once a year, so it means it's really difficult sometimes to cure my models. And beforehand I was doing it and I was either over curing them and they'd be really brittle, or I'd be under curing them and they'd be all tacky and I'd need to go back out, and it was just an absolute pain. With this, you literally kind of pop them onto it, set it on for, I normally do between 2 and 3 minutes depending on the model size. I'll do halfway through, I'll flip the models over and you're done, and you get really good coverage all around. I've not had any issues with it. Cleaning up since I've been using this is so much easier. I've gone through far less gloves because obviously having far less contact with stuff that's covered in resin or uncured resin. It just makes it so much easier to do, and the prints come off so much cleaner. Like the quality between me manually cleaning them and using this is night and day. It was so much better. I've looked at some of my previous models that I printed off when I initially started, and you can see all the bits of kind of excess resin, and it's just they're awful compared to something like this. And curing is just so much easier because it's just so easy to do, and you can do it whenever you want. Also, I found that I don't necessarily need to do that hot bath of water anymore to get the supports off, because I don't know if it's a psychological thing, it's just easier to handle because it's so much cleaner, but the supports tend to come off a lot easier when I've been using that. There's probably nothing to do with this, it's just that it's cleaner, it's easier for me to handle and get everything off. So for me, it's worked out much, much better. It's taken a lot of the steps out of cleaning and made it a lot easier, and it's made me want to 3D print a hell of a lot more because I don't have to worry about those really tedious extra steps. Now, I mentioned it's not perfect, and there are other solutions out there as well that might be worthwhile having a look at. This is the only one that I've used, so this is the only one I can comment on. But there are a couple of things on there to consider. And the first one is lining that up is really frustrating. I know I did it pretty much straight away first time around there, which is like the first time ever. But it's on this like magnet, and it's a pain sometimes lining it up. And when you've got your models on there, sometimes you've kind of scraped them off and put them onto it. They're kind of wobbling over and you don't want to knock them, and then you just like, I've done it first time again. This is unbelievable. But normally that never happens, so that's something to bear in mind. Also, it's this kind of wood finish, and I suppose I could put something on top of this, but just wiping it clean and everything isn't quite as easy as I'd like. I could do something about that, but I haven't because I'm lazy. Just the reason why I bought this machine. But yeah, another thing that's quite annoying. Also, it's only happened to me once, but there have been a lot of comments on different forums and other people talking about this. You've got to hit the sort of like mode here to switch it from curing to wash, and it always defaults as curing. So I'll normally take my models, you put them in, and if you don't hit that, you'll end up curing that whole vat. So this big tub here will start curing, and your models will start curing without being washed. Like I said, it's only happened to me once, and I came back to it and I was like, what the hell is going on with this? And it was all full of like jelly. So yeah, that's one to look out for. And then on the flip side as well, if you put it on wash and you've got your models on here, it will go into the super cyclone and just start smashing them against things. So you do need to bear that in mind. I wish, obviously it has this whole thing that the lid's got to be on it for it to start. So I wish it kind of had like a weight or a pressure plate here, so that way if you put the big heavy thing full of alcohol on it, it would know that it shouldn't be curing. They shouldn't have anything that heavy unless you override it, and vice versa. If it's really light, I wish it kind of detected that. So just a minor thing and something to consider. Again as well, it's that permanent fixture, so it's always going to be somewhere. I don't mind that too much. I've got a big enough desk that doesn't bother me too much, and it takes up far less space than having a big mat out and the multiple tubs of Tupperware and all the cleaning stuff at the same time. So for me, it's not too big of an issue, but again, it is something to consider. So that is the Elegoo Mercury Plus. So it's the wash and cure machine, and I love it. It's literally the second best thing that I've bought for 3D printing. Obviously my Mars Pro is my best thing that I've purchased for it. For me, it was sucking out the joy of 3D printing, having to print them off and then go through that tedious and really frustrating cleaning process. It was just killing the joy for me. This, although it does still have its frustrations, you still have to go through the clean and then wait for the alcohol and everything to evaporate and dry off. It makes it so much more convenient and so much easier. So if you are in the market and if you are having that frustrating bit of having to clean and stuff like that, and it is something that's putting you off from printing, I cannot recommend this any more highly. It's a really, really good machine. Have a look, do some research. You might find something that's better for you, there's something that works better as well. You know, if you've got a Saturn, it's not going to work with this because the build plate's too big, so again, something to bear in mind. But if you have one of the smaller machines like the Mars Pro, this, I love it. It's fantastic. So let us know any questions or comments you've got down below. I'll do my best to answer those. If you've got one of these and you like it, let us know. And if you've used one and you've moved on to something else, or if you just used something else, let us know in the comments below. Be really interested to know what you guys are using. In the meantime, stay safe and come back soon for some more 3D printing content. I'll see you soon. Bye.